All right. Hi, everyone. This is the Patterns podcast. I'm Emmanuel. I'm here with Kid Strange, aka Rich from Third Stone Sounds. Hi, Rich. And
How's it going?
we're going to talk a little bit about how it is to have a label and, Rich story as a musician. So we were talking a little bit beforehand. So Rich, you were telling me about how you started playing the guitar at age 12, 13. Uh,
Yeah.
so what happened? Let's get into that.
Um, so I had a guitar that was given to me. It was my mom's guitar from when she was a kid, and it was just some really cheap, small that had plastic strings on it, and
Like acoustic
then
guitar?
yeah, like one of those ones, and I was just kind of mess around on that, and my friend, he had a guitar and he was learning, and so like kind of got interested that way, and just like I go over his house and we play. I think like during that time like punk music was big, so we would just
So when was
jam
that? Like
around.
early 2000s?
Yeah,
Late?
yeah, it was yeah, it was definitely like early 2000s punk music,
Yeah.
um, like Green Day and Blink-182 and all
Oh,
that,
nice. Yeah. I remember
all that stuff.
Call from the
Yeah, yeah,
time. Really like
yeah,
that.
yeah, just stuff like that. And then my dad surprised me with a guitar that was his friend's, and it was my first guitar was a Fender Stratocaster, and so I got that, and then just took lessons and just kept playing, and it was just more of a fun thing to do.
It's funny because I'm always saying like things never happen, like things always happen, like there's a reason for everything.
Yeah,
And as you're telling me this story, I like, oh, like I used to play a little bit on my mom's acoustic guitar, which
mm-hmm.
happened to have nylon strings.
Mm-hmm.
And my first electric guitar was from a friend of my parents. So it's very similar, and
Yeah.
so I have to ask because Third Stone Sounds is lo-fi label. So how
Yes.
do you get from punk rock, which is high energy, to something like what's the story there? Like it happened
So
over a lot of years, I'm guessing.
so when obviously I was like LimeWire and all that stuff was out back in the day, and so one day I just remember asking my dad, like, oh, what did you used to listen to when you were my age? And so he's like naming off a bunch of rock bands of Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. And so I like just started
Like
immediately
classic.
just downloading everything that I possibly could, and just like diving deep into what is now classic rock. So from there, it just went from punk music to classic rock, and then so then I had my guitar teacher teach me like blues and a little bit of jazz, and so I just dove into that, and so mainly I was playing a lot of blues, and I guess like classic rock is primarily
Yeah, and then you
blues and heavier blues, stuff like that. So I've been pretty much trained in playing blues music and smidgen of jazz.
yeah.
Really can't say that I'm fantastic at it,
It's like a natural
but
progression. Like I think if you're a musician, like if you play
yeah,
rock and popular stuff when you're a teen, and eventually as you get more proficient at your instrument, you start to explore, and eventually you end up exploring jazz
yeah,
at some point.
yeah,
Which like to me like I did play the guitar up until some point, but then I got back playing piano and keyboards, and it's basically the same. Like you want to become a better musician,
yeah,
and people keep telling you like, "Oh, jazz, it's where it's at." Well, that's what happened to me, and so I wanted to explore, and yeah. So from jazz, how do you get to hip hop? It's not very far.
Yeah, it's not that huge of a gap. I mean, it was
Used to be though.
so yeah, it used to be. Now it's not. Now it's a very easy. It's a very easy gap. You can jazz to hip hop real quick. Um, for me personally, let me think here. I got I got really interested in like the gorillas.
Yeah.
So from the gorillas, they kind of had that little all over the spectrum type of music. And then you had Deltron. So I dove into Deltron. And then at the time, I mean, like, you'd listen to hip hop and rap and stuff. And so it's like it wasn't like I was just completely clueless about anything at all. But I got really big into like Deltron. And that started like slowly, I slowly got interested in more like just the way that like hip hop was made, and like I was recognizing things like this, and I was like, oh, they're sampling music, because I was like, wait, this, like I would listen to like hip hop and be like, oh, this song sounds like this song, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, so it was very just like this general progression of me through the years, like learning about everything, and then that's when I was like, I'm gonna start making music on the computer, because like I wanted to learn how to record guitar, record what I was doing.
So that's what, like mid 2000s?
Yeah, like
early 2010s.
Yeah. So I got into. I had a buddy of mine gave me a copy of Reason 4, and so I picked up that. Was learning as much as I possibly could on Reason, and just I dabbled in like EDM for a while to like when dubstep got really big.
Can you hear that somewhere?
You can possibly find something, but it's never like I never made dubstep. Like I couldn't make it, and like it just didn't. It's not that it sounded bad. It was just like me as an individual, I could never make like really super hyped up music like that. It just wasn't ever like
It never happened.
It's just not. It's not in my code. It's like like each person has their own path.
What you mean,
and it's just like it just never sounded good. Like you can find some of my like older music on YouTube, and it's still like the stuff that I make now and the stuff that I made then. It's like you can see like that very clear line of there's a certain like mood that I have, and the mood has always been the same, and that hasn't changed. It's just now my production quality is a lot better. That's all that's changed. Yeah. So
you were basically making like the same music as you're making now, only you were trying to pass it out as something else?
Like, well, no, I wasn't like making.
Or put it in a box, like dubstep and.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I was like friends with people that were, that was like what I was into, and like, I enjoyed listening to it, but like,
I'm not passing judgment, by the way.
No, you're okay. No, it's just like, I just like, it didn't happen for me. Like I would try to make something, I just wouldn't like it. Like I felt like it wasn't, that's not me. That's not what I'm doing. No. So it was just like, I was always this very like, it was not dubstep, but it's like I tried making dubstep, but it never really was dubstep.
Yeah. So, you start off with some kind of dubstep codes, like kind of bass sound, and you start making music, but it turns out being, maybe like this is my life story. At some point, I was really trying to make, like cool music, like for the cool and stuff, because like I did make a few tracks that were more dynamic and kind of bass and noisy, but it was more by accident.
Yeah.
then like it always kind of went into like you can start with a strong bass and drums and whatever, but at some point it goes kind of sideways into who you are really. Like
Mm-hmm.
the same as making like type beats, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like Dila type beats and stuff like that. And I couldn't do that to save my life.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever do that. Like
It's
I've tried. Um, so yeah, back in like 2010, 11ish, when Odd Future was progressively growing, a couple of my friends would be like, "Yo, can you make me like an Odd Future sounding beat?" And I'm like, "I can try," you know, and it just like it still never. Even if like I copied everything like they had, and it didn't sound anything like it. The only thing that I could, and I don't know if anyone else knows this, but there's a reason. Like one of their preset sounds for Reason is the exact same sound that's in Yonkers.
yeah.
It's that like the little the main little percussion thing that carries out the entire song. Like that's literally a Reason preset for some like little percussion sound. And that was the closest thing I got to anything. And I was like, yeah, here you go. And it just wasn't something I could do. It always
It doesn't
had.
feel right
Yeah.
at the end of the day because, like, when you're making your own music, you kind of take it somewhere. Like you kind of know what you're doing
Yeah.
and where you want to go, and more or less, you know, it's variable. But when you're trying to imitate something, like you can never you can imitate to some extent, and some people are really really good at that.
Mm.
But, like to me, and I'm guessing to you also, you can only take it so far, but it's definitely not good enough. It
Yeah.
sounds kind of forced and like the melody, like and it just doesn't flow. You know,
Yeah.
it's not who you are, and I did struggle a lot with that actually because I could only ever make my own music, you know, and it's not the most popular kind of music.
Yeah.
You know, so when that's all like you want to do, and you have to take into account there's an industry behind that. There's you know labels and distributors and you know all that kind of stuff. And you have like I came to a point that like this is the only thing I can do, and you have to commit to that. You know, it's maybe it's not the most popular or whatever, but you can always make it better. You can always practice. You can always, you know, grow. And once you commit to that, actually, I feel it becomes more popular. People can you know, feel that through the music once you're committed.
Yeah.
What you're doing.
It's my fine arts teacher. I'm a fine arts dropout, and and so he would always tell me that there's two types of people that are in arts. There's people that are copycats, and then there's artists. And a lot of people are not going to like hearing this, but the people that can make the type beats that can copy other people, he's like, those people aren't. He's like, they're not creative. He's like, the creative people, the people that go and make their own sound, and even though it might not be popular at first, it becomes popular. I mean, like, look at Van Gogh, for example. Van Gogh was absolutely hated, and then when he died, he became famous. And
yeah, but that's
like, yeah, yeah.
I don't want this to happen.
Yeah, but that's like you know, that's really that's really like in you know classical art, like painting and all that stuff. It was a very common thing that happened was you had these new, I guess, like pioneers of a new style of art, and they were just generally hated by the public. And it wasn't until years later where they actually got that recognition for being something and somebody and having talent. Most of them it was very tough being an artist way back then. You know, you generally live an extremely poor life, and but those are the most iconic artists of history. Is people that went against the grain, and they, you know.
But I feel you do have to at some point. Like I just turned 42 last December, and this is the decision I made a few years ago. Like, because before that, I was married and I was trying to, find my place in society. I knew I wanted to make music, and I was making music, but I wasn't really. Up until that point, I never really learned music. I was just content with whatever skill that I had and that had developed over, time with experience. But I took it for granted, and I was like, oh, I'm a good musician. I should be able to succeed. And if I'm not, then maybe I'm not made for that. But I didn't think that. I didn't believe that. And at some point, like, stuff happens in life, and I made the decision to, all right, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. Like, up until that point, I wasn't really doing it seriously, and after that, like, I started learning and practicing, classical music, stuff like that, and learning harmony, music theory, and I really commit to making a lot of music and practicing a lot and learning a lot, and spending most of my time doing that. And once you do that, there's a shift. You're like, all right, maybe I'm going to succeed, maybe I'm not. But if I'm not to succeed, I don't want to be on my deathbed and ask myself, what if?
Yeah, exactly.
You just want to give it your all, commit, because that's the most meaningful thing you can do in your life. As an artist, I believe that. And just by committing, you improve your life significantly, because you're in tune with who you are, and people, the world responds to that very positively also, and things start happening. But you still have to be committed. You still have to believe in yourself. You still have to work hard, obviously, and without having any kind of insurance that it will ever happen to you.
Right.
But, like, there's no one who gave up and succeeded. You just need to stick with it. And I feel like, looking into what you're doing, because like you told me about being a musician, but like, you also created this label. How long ago was it?
It was over the summer. So
all right,
it's very fresh, very, very fresh.
All right, but was it a process, like, you were thinking about it for a long time?
Yeah. I was thinking about it for a while, because I was just observing everything going on, and within a lot of the communities out there, just kind of observing the politics and the dynamics of everything going on, and like, just me naturally going against the grain. I wanted to create something that was different, which, I mean, I guess is like every person's, thing, is to try and be different. But I definitely wanted to create something that people wouldn't really complain about. Like, there was just no gimmick, no, shadiness. It just, it is what it is what it is. And, it's definitely not like a collective. Like, there's some people that, have collectives or whatever, where it's just, a group of people that release music under like a name or whatever. Yeah. And then they do like no business to it. And so, like, I wanted to have that, but have a business side to it, but like a friendly business. So it wasn't, most people, they hear the word business and it's automatically just this terrible thing, and so I wanted to find that like perfect balance of just creating something that was, good for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely with you. Like when it comes to like when you look at patterns, like we are at this point we are a collective, but there is an underlying like I'm a business owner, and there is an underlying aspect. Like we are making plans, we are looking into ways, to grow.
Mhm.
But it's still very young at this point. There's no money in it. I would like to put money in it when I can afford. Things are difficult right now. A lot of work, not a lot of money. But that's the thing. Like most people, they hear business and they imagine, oh, this is just for the money.
Yeah.
And actually, that's not the case, because, like, let's take this for example. When you're by yourself, you can tell a few people, what you think, and you view, and your friends will listen and will care. But if you like, if you have a business, you can implement things that reach more. Like you can reach much more people, much
Mhm.
more. Like you have more. How can I put that? Like you have this whole structure behind, and usually it means also like many different people, but everyone's focused to that one goal. And it's not like where people make mistake. It's they think business is all about money. Actually, that's not the case. But how business work is like you find ways to generate income and money,
Mhm.
so that you can do good things.
Yeah.
It's not just so that you can buy yourself a car or a home or whatever. It's so that you enable yourself to do more than what you could if you were just yourself.
Right.
You create a context, you create a framework where you can make things happen, within your area of expertise, like as a musician, you
Mhm.
know. And did you have any prior business experience before that?
No, not really. I mean, my mom owned a business. Like she just basically um, she cleaned like businesses and stuff like that. And other
Yeah,
than that, I mean, like that, that's just like a private business. It was just basically her, and that was basically my first job. Was I would go and clean businesses with her, and so it's like, I understood minor things like, doing your taxes and like having
yeah,
a stock and, stuff like that. But like, as far as like working with other people and putting yourself out there, not necessarily, no. I mean, that was just something that I had to pick up on my own and learn, and several
yeah.
hours of just watching YouTube videos and getting information from XYZ.
And there's one thing that's fascinating, because it didn't happen. I'm sorry, because I'm realize I'm talking about myself a lot.
All right. You're
But
okay.
being like 42, I remember, like, I grew up in a small town, like 25,000 people. There's nothing there. And I was in my late teens, young adulthood, when internet became started to grow into something that was, oh, everyone can have access to that. But before that, I mean, I clearly remember, like, when you're in high school, you start making plans for your future. Like, becoming an entrepreneur wasn't supposed to happen. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't, like, coming from median income family, nothing special, like, public servants, and like, at best, I would get some job, 100 kilometers, like 60 miles in the biggest town, and that's the best that was going to happen. And then internet happened, And then you had instant access to, learning. You can teach yourself a lot of things, online now, especially nowadays, but, even when it got started, and you have access. You can learn how to create a website. You can learn how to, put a small business together without it. Like, you can reach much more customers, a wider audience, and at the same time, it doesn't cost you nearly as much, because, back in the day, you had to actually get a building, get a place, a venue, and then you would only reach, people in your town, and that was it, like. And now, like, you can be, high school, college dropout and educate yourself and still create the opportunity for yourself to make a better life, not only for yourself, because that's one thing you do through making a business, trying to improve your life, but like, you want to also have the business like have a positive impact around you, and help out other people, like in your community. And that's something that you can do now that you couldn't imagine doing, except if you were extremely wealthy, like 25 years ago. That was not something that most people could, do. And now 2021, we're in the middle of the pandemic, but still people are creating business today and are being successful today. That's amazing. That's something that, as a young adult, I couldn't even have imagined. And now it's happening. It's right there.
Yeah.
Even this conversation that we have couldn't have happened 25 years ago.
Yeah.
No way, there's no way.
Yeah. We've come a long way.
It's incredible. It's like to be able to know like this switch in our lifetime. That's like, most people don't realize that. Most people, I think, now take internet for granted, but it's
absolutely,
it's mind blowing. Like, this thing that it is and the potential. Like, and it's a balance thing. It has potential for chaos and order.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what you are doing with it. Depends on but you can teach yourself. You can grow. You can improve. You don't need to be at college anymore. I'm not saying kids
don't
should
go
to college, but like, it's definitely not for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I couldn't, I wasn't bad at school, but I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, like so many people, like, now you have an alternative, a viable alternative.
Yeah.
That's given 25 years ago. So now, like, almost a year old, like, third stone, it's a mouthful for a French guy. Third stone sounds. So how did it all came about? Like, why that?
The name?
No, the whole thing.
The whole thing?
What's the plan? What was the plan to begin with, and how did it turn out so far?
The initial plan was just to basically get all of the people that I liked working with, and people that I saw potential in, and just like being like, hey, like, let's start something up. Let's do something. And then I basically just created it and gathered people that I could, stuff that I liked. Like, I do have like a sound in mind, but I basically just threw it together, and like, I had a plan. Like, there's like the growth plan was always a thing, but just the way that I guess went about doing it was very ADHD, just very scatterbrained, and I was just, finding people that I liked and putting what I could together. And
it seems so much like you're in the flow kind of guy.
Yeah. Like, it was just like, because I mean, like, it, I don't want to say that I was like getting tired of like what was out there, but I could definitely see like a pattern that people are getting sick of, and which is like the whole lo-fi is associated with like anime and anime only, or like or like just there was like that certain thing that it just seemed like it was like stuck there, and I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna do something different. Like I'm gonna associate like nature. I'm gonna associate like organics, and they're really just raw aspects about just life in general. And so that's why, like, if you notice, like a lot of my videos are like the stuff I have on Instagram. It's all pretty much nature, and there's people. It's not always just weird, like just not weird, but like the typical stuff that you generally see. And so
I'm not, I'm pretty much mind blown actually by what I'm hearing, like in a good way.
yeah,
And I wasn't expecting that because it's like the opposite of what people think when they think about a business.
oh yeah,
And I love that. And I never really thought of things like that. And I'm not that much of a I don't know. I like to be inside, make some music, and I can appreciate nature. I can definitely enjoy, you know, uh, but I'm not going, towards it that much.
yeah.
Maybe I should. Maybe there's something there for me, but
I recommend it.
yeah, I'm probably like yeah, this is something that like now with the pandemic, like here in France, we have a lot of restrictions, and it's changing all the time. Like we have a curfew now, a lot of things. Like I'm basically stuck in. It's a great city, by the way. It's Toulouse,
Yeah,
it's southwestern France. We have great climates and stuff. Like I moved from the small town, and but I was expecting like I made a business plan and then you talk to me about nature and I think it makes so much sense because
yeah,
at the end of the day like, I'm very impressed. Like I wasn't at all expecting that, even from the talk that we had before. Like it's I'm speechless basically.
yeah. I mean,
It's very hard to do to render me
it's just
speechless. Like
like I mean, like you the way that I thought about it was like music brings people together. It's generally uh,
it
that's just
does.
that's what it does. I mean, and we all have the same, like, how can I word this?
We all respond to music the same way.
Yeah, we all respond to
We all
music the same
understand
way,
music. Yeah.
and it is a natural thing. And so and it's like if you ever just go out and just take a walk into like a trail or something like that, it's just like you just stop and you just like listen to everything that's going on, and like you can hear like nature has its own music. You can hear, if it's windy out, you can hear trees like rubbing up against each other and they create like a little crack or a scrape. You have birds, there's animals running around the ground. Like you have all this going on, and to most people it's might be noise or whatever, but it's like the creative people like us that are artists, we're going to think of that as nature's music.
Or
And so
even technically, it's music.
yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
not in the sense like, oh, it's a sound, it's a rhythm, but in a very like physical sense. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar. You probably are to some extent, maybe a lot, with the harmonic series
mm,
and the relationships between harmonics basically and how sound is made and how music is derived directly from that physical phenomenon that you can
Yeah.
observe in nature. So, and this is like, I don't know if I'm, mystifying it too much. Maybe I am, but in any case, like, I like thinking of things like that. Things this way is like, um, making music is like making a model of, everything.
Yeah.
It's you express, through harmony. You just sort it's kind of establishing balance, like when you're in nature, and you listen to the wind and the trees, and even if you're in in a city and you listen to the people and the cars and
Yeah.
the traffic. So as a musician, you just kind of dig into that chaos, and through your own like order, like it can be technical mastery of your instrument. It can be, mixing, sampling, stuff that you learn to do. You have a method. There's some technique. So you introduce order, and you through introducing order to the chaos, you create meaning, something meaningful. That's a piece of music, and the meaningfulness of it comes directly through expressing the relationship between the 5 to 1 and stuff like that, and it's deeply emotional, but at the same time it's deeply rooted in everything. Whether like everything is frequency, everything is balance,
Yeah.
and music, like, I'm obviously biased, but I do believe it's the art form, like the ultimate art form, you
Yeah.
know, in the way that it ties everything together, like physical and metaphysical. Like,
Yeah. It carries a lot of weight.
it's it's incredible, and like I was talking before about committing, and that's the thing. Like once I realized that, and it was a process, but once I realized that, I was like, because before that I was like, oh, I'm good at music. I'm better than other people. It was an ego thing, and then I understood that, oh, I can make, like, I'm good at music. This is a privilege. This is something that most people don't have,
Yeah.
and this is something that's so powerful. You can change lives. I need to take this, seriously. Like, this is the most serious thing I can ever do with my being on Earth.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of being successful. This is, do you want your life to have meaning? If you are in this position where you can actually create music and touch people, and to people who watch us right now, you might be, it's very likely that you are in this position where you can actually make music and touch people. You
Yeah.
can
I mean,
think,
that's like one of the goals that I have is like I don't really necessarily plan, like, would it be nice to make a livable income doing this or above a livable income? Like, absolutely
yeah,
would be nice. But like, it's, to me,
if it happens, it
just,
happens.
yeah, if it happens, it happens. But to me, what I'm trying to do is to just change things, but not like in the sense where, uh, not like a forced change, not like I'm not trying to like be a hero type of situation, like in a sense,
Yeah.
but just like right now, from like just observing the world, like right now, I think that music is probably like the most important thing that we have.
It's medicine.
Yeah. Especially right now, like during like the pandemic and everything,
Sure.
it's, and I'm just noticing that there is like this trend of that's happening where people are leaning towards more calming music, and instead of having all this hype music and this what I would call a distraction. Like you have the EDM and anthem, like rap anthems and club music and or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm just seeing like more people kind of getting into calmer and softer stuff. And so
And
like,
deeper.
yeah, and deeper. It's like in lo-fi, it does have that. And like even just hip hop in general has always had that deeper side of, you know, music. And so I think that this is something that we need, and it's something that I can I have like a feeling that it's gonna be like the music's that's gonna like carry on to like the next big thing, the more whatever's coming next. Because I always sit there and I think to myself, I'm like, what is after this? Like what like new music is going to be out there? Like what is the new? I don't necessarily say trend, but just like
genre.
You could genre, your genre, or just whatever people are vibing on, and I can only think of just like people are gonna go back and they're gonna listen to quieter stuff they can reflect on, because the world is in chaos right now. There's a lot going on, and I think it's like everyone wants that. They just want to settle down. They just want to quiet down. They want to collect their thoughts and get everything situated. And I think that this is the perfect medicine, as you said, right now.
And especially like when you talk about what they call lo-fi chill, it's at the same time like it's very simple music, simplistic music, like harmonically very often, but at the same time it can be, it's not always, but it can be extremely deep, and I think that's coming from people like you, my good friend, like co-founder of Patterns, Mackenzie. If you haven't heard what he's doing, like I'm definitely going to send you a few links. It's you're going to love it for sure, and you're probably going to love the guy. Like you guys have to meet, and it's like how can I put this? Hang on. And this is what fascinates me about lo-fi, especially, and that's maybe what got me into it, like especially nowadays, because I haven't always done that, but I've always been close to hip hop, and you have this very like harmonically, it's often very fundamental, like 2-5-1s and whatnot, and sometimes it can be a little bit jazzy, and that's great, but it's never really like harmonically very challenging, and if it is, it's more like sporadically. You have one maybe weird chord and that gives it, but at the same time, like it tells, like it's very like a narrative style.
Mm-hmm.
It's short stories, and I don't know what it is with lo-fi and this kind of music. I don't know why people respond. Like I understand why I respond to that, but I also understand like it's weird that it's so popular. Actually, it's weird. It's bizarre.
The thing that it shouldn't be, but it is. And what I like in the full circle back to like the reason why I made Third Sound Sounds, and like why I'm doing what I'm doing is it's like why it's a lo-fi label, let's put it that way, is nature in itself isn't always nature is complex, when you get down to the nitty gritty of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, take for example, like you're at a beach. I mean, waves, the sound of waves isn't a complex sound. Waves are waves. It sounds like waves, and everyone knows what waves sound like.
Yeah.
And so, and lo-fi is kind of the same way. Like, it's a very simple, and it's soothing. And there's like this something that happens. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
And so, like, that's my only explanation to what I had, like, just from observing, you know, everything around me. Like, that's what I pick up on, is just like, it's simple. And, you know, it's sometimes, you know, what's that, oh, there's some type of saying about like some having things that are simple and happiness. What is it? I don't.
in what way?
Oh, like the simple things in life. You know, like there's
Yeah,
like
yeah, most definitely.
yeah, they make the happiness comes from the simple things.
Well, waves being at the
Yeah, simple.
why are you know oceanfront so popular? You know, and beach
Right.
is so popular. Why people just when they have some free time, they just want to go to the beach. Why is
Yeah,
that?
it's
And
just sand and water.
yeah, and that's
Sand, water, and sky. It's a not a complex
it's always
thing.
the same, but it's always different.
Yeah,
But you
which I
know
think
what
that's
to
why.
expect.
Yeah, and the same with listening to lo-fi. It's like you know what to expect. It's going to be super chill. It's going to have, you know, kick a hat and a snare, a piano, maybe a bass line. Who really knows? But it's there and it works.
That's the thing, man. I used to make like tracks, like I had like 50, 60, 70 tracks.
Yeah.
One project. Now it's just like I have 5, 6 at most.
Yep.
Like separate drums and maybe a bass, maybe some chords or some samples, chops, a melody or two. But then again, like it's funny because how do you define lo-fi hip hop today? Because there's some debates. Like I don't think it's that interesting of a debate, but it's fun.
It's a very fun debate. How would one define lo-fi?
Like how did it start? Like from your perspective, like how do you understand? Like to you who are the artists.
So to me, when you say lo-fi, that's just grouping every genre that is making music not in a studio. So
all right.
Like, but if you were to specifically say like lo-fi hip hop or like lo-fi rock, or then there's it branches out to like different things.
Yeah, I would say more like I have an opinion on it, but I wanted to know it was more like on lo-fi hip hop and to some extent what people are starting to call lo-fi house.
Oh yeah, there's lo-fi house. Yeah,
because to me it's the same thing. Like even like regular hip hop and like regular house music, it's basically like the brothers and sisters to me. So
it's just like a lo-fi anything is just low fidelity version of something.
Yeah, but how did it become a thing?
Bedroom producers, like just like I've been trying to think about that, and I know like with lo-fi hip hop, a lot of people are going to say Dilla.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't agree with that, by the way.
And that's a very controversial thing to say.
Yeah, I know.
Very controversial.
It doesn't. I'm not saying I don't love Dilla, but that's not who I like. Who I think of when I think of lo-fi.
So
I understand why people do, though.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think, like all music in general, I think it's just like it's a human collective like project. It's one giant project that we're all contributing in, and I don't like you can pinpoint pioneers of really anything, but like it always stems from something else.
Like, why don't people say DJ Premier, for example?
I don't know.
Is it because many are too young and they don't know about him? because that's
Well,
to me like if you want to say Dilla, you have to like DJ Premier. It's you know.
yeah, because I mean, like, I think here, like, were they the same time frame? They were the same time. Well,
No, Premiere is more like early 90s.
well, Dilla is too, I do believe. He had stuff, I do believe,
I
for
think it
Tribe
was.
Quest.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I would
So,
still, I still believe Premiere was. I don't know. That's
but
yeah,
you see, but he got it from somebody else too, and it trickles down.
because basically like it's basically hip hop. Because
Yeah.
when you think about it, like hip hop by like I don't know if I have my history straight, but to me, like it started like with MCs on B sides, like of disco records. But when it
Mm.
really started to become a genre, and people are like actually composing music and creating music, sampling and stuff like that, drum machines. Um, uh, this is like there weren't musicians like classically trained. There weren't guitar players or piano
Yeah.
players. They just took turntables, whatever sampler and drum machine that they could put their hands on that was cheap at the time,
Mm.
and they recorded on cassette because that's what they
Was
had. They just
available.
wanted
Yeah.
to make music. They didn't know how to make music, so they took whatever they could with the whatever money they had and put that together, and that became hip hop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Like that's
it
what
is
it's like. Just
lo-fi by
it's like
definition.
a collective effort. It's just something that it just happened. Like, I mean, me personally, I think it's just something that happened. I mean, we could sit here and try to pinpoint everything,
Because it wasn't
and
respected as a musical genre at first.
no, absolutely not. It was just respected, or just hip hop. That's just what it was. And then once at the late '90s, when you had like studios pick up on it and it became more popular, then that's what we have. The more cleaner sound that we have now. And that's just what people know as hip hop. I think it's just a collective effort.
So lo-fi would be a return to the roots of hip hop, basically.
Yeah,
Like this is how I understand it.
yeah, absolutely. Like that's how I feel about it. It's just going back, and whether or not it's obviously not everyone has the availability of going to a thousands of dollars, $1,000 recording studio, whatever. They have a 404 little beat machine, something like that, and they just grab samples and throw it in, and it is what it is.
The thing, what's interesting is that back then, like early 90s, late 80s, like people did that because they didn't have a choice, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a choice.
Yeah.
Now it's like a conscious decision to, all right, let's get back to how, the originator, the ancestors did it, like the traditional way of making hip hop, and let's call it lo-fi. I still call it hip hop, but I think it's like house music, basically. Like what is house music today has nothing to do with what used to be, house music in the 90s. It's completely different. And I think it's the same, with hip hop and the new genres of hip hop, like, trap and stuff like that, which, I'm okay with that. I can definitely appreciate, and there's some artists that are amazing, and I love that. But that's the thing with lo-fi, and it's very difficult to pinpoint. Like, why are people, buying cassette recorders? Why are, what is it? Because now we have finally access to high quality audio, in our homes, and we can choose whether we want that or I don't know. How do you make music like right now? Are you on computer?
Yeah,
Hardware?
I use Ableton.
All right. Like and plugins like virtual instruments,
Plugins.
controller.
Yeah. I have to try to make things sound vintage, I guess. It's classified as vintage now. Yeah. We hit that point.
Yeah, but at the same time, like you can, it's probably like you can choose what kind of vintage, what kind of sound.
Yeah.
You have much more possibilities, and because it's very impressive. Like I don't know if it's a generation thing or whatever, because I'm not much older, than you, and like I don't know. What are you using? Ableton? Like any specific, instruments, plugins? What do you like using the most?
I mean, I use my guitar when I can, but I use just plugins. I grab the common ones that people use. RC20?
Oh yeah.
And
I don't know. This is such a great plugin.
Yeah, and then just Rhodes. I love different Rhodes sounds. Like I'll download a whole bunch of different plugins and see what I like.
I used to have a real Rhodes, and which one do you think it's like? Which one is your go-to Rhodes?
I'm not sure. I like the. Not when I have to pull it up. Hold on 1 second. I can never pronounce the name of it. It begins with an A. The company. Atara or whatever. I can never pronounce it.
Arturia?
Yeah, Arturia. Yep, that's what it is.
Oh, the Stage 73?
Yep.
I used to hate that one.
I use that one, and then a lot.
Now I use it all the time, by the way.
A lot of people hate Lounge Lizard, and I've used that a couple times. And people say Lounge Lizard is terrible, but I use it. I use everything that people say don't use, or that they say that it sucks. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, like your song's really good. I like it." It's like, "Oh, okay, cool, thanks." Like, just never let anyone know that I use the things that people don't like. Like a lot of people actually like give people crap for using the
Arturia. I say it in French.
the RC20. A lot of people kind of get, there's always like jokes or whatever of people using the RC20, and
it's a great plugin.
Yeah. You have to use it tastefully. You have to use everything tastefully. Yeah, well, you use everything tastefully. That's the thing, though. It's like you just can't drop it in and expect it to work. It's never going to be like that.
It still does, kind of.
Yeah. It's magical. Let's see here. I'm looking at my list of stuff.
It's up to you if you want to leave it at that or do something else with it. And
I have something else that I use. I'm trying to think of it.
If you're really looking for, like, having had a Mark 188, like if you're really looking for the most realistic, the closest to the real thing that I've ever heard and played, I think it's Native Instruments, Contact, like within Contact, a library that's called Scarby.
Okay. Yeah, I have Contact. I use Contact a lot. I use anything I can get my hands on, really. I'll give it a go and I'll make something with it.
Yeah, you can try that one, Scarby, and the one I bought recently was from a brand called Neo Soul Keys, I think, or gospel musicians. Like, they have a pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually use Serum in a lot of my music.
Yeah?
Yeah. I just anything with keys, pads.
I don't have the
I just use
to make this work.
I just I put a lot of money into this thing just to get Serum to work. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get Serum to work, and No, that's Serum is probably one
Looks
of my
amazing though
yeah. It's a
when
lot
it
of fun.
works.
It's probably one of my most used plugin actually.
And you can do FM too, right? You can do everything in
Yeah,
Serum, I think.
yes, it's pretty good.
But you need the
Pretty good.
computer. Yeah, I have a laptop. Like I'm doing 3D and stuff, but it's horrible. It's not a bad laptop, but it's still just a laptop. It's not made for heavy load,
Yeah.
CPU and graphics and stuff. And yeah, for the music, like I do most of my stuff. Like I right now I sequence my drums on Ableton using the keyboard. Like I play the
Mhm.
drums. And everything else, happens more or less outside of the computer. Then I just record the audio and do the mixing and stuff. But the more I can do outside, and it's more fun to me also. Like I like having instruments around me.
Yeah, if I had the room, I would pick up more hardware. Like I'm not one of those people that are the hardware versus software people. I'll use both.
Whatever works, it doesn't matter. Like
you can just make something that you like. That's all really.
Believe it or not, man. This friend of mine, he's also in the collectivist. His name is Alfonso Mongo. He's doing most of his beats, and they are absolute bangers. All right, you're sitting down. You're not going to believe this. It's FL Mobile on his cell phone.
He's doing it on the mobile.
Yeah,
what'd you say it was?
FL Fruity Loops.
Okay. There's the people that use the koala.
Yeah, I hear it's like SP404, but as an app. All right, I have an SP404, so I don't really need I don't. Yeah, it's just like I've tried and failed so many times to make music just in the computer. It's just it doesn't matter at the end of the day because if it sounds, it sounds, and I've always been into I grew up in the 80s, synthesizers, drum machines. So this is, me being a kid. These are all toys to me, and I'm having fun and turning knobs and pressing buttons, and that's amazing. And that's how I make my music. But at the end of the day, hardware versus software, you could have some sort of argument in the late 90s, early, the very first audio virtual instruments. They weren't as good as right now. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're completely I want to buy a Rhodes back, but I don't need one.
Yeah.
I don't. When I got mine back in the days, you couldn't have anything that sounded close to an actual Rhodes. Now, you can get a plugin and that sounds you won't get the touch. It won't be exactly the same thing, but I know how Rhodes can be played because of the way it feels under your fingers. You kind of play differently than on a MIDI keyboard or a piano or whatever. It's a different instrument. I've played for years on actual Rhodes, so I know how to play Rhodes, and I can just play the same way on a MIDI keyboard now. But yeah, sound wise, you don't need one. Nobody needs a Rhodes anymore. You still want one.
Yeah, of course. I know for a fact I don't need one, but I want one.
And I've seen recently. So there's if you don't know the channel, there's the keyboard player of Jamiroquai. He just made maybe a year or two ago, he made a YouTube channel where he's talking about keyboards and piano techniques and stuff like that. It's very interesting, and he has this I don't know what is the brand exactly, but it's a brand that actually made high quality Rhodes from zero, brand page, and they sound amazing. But it's the cheapest is $6,000. But if I can ever afford one again, maybe that's what I'm because they sound amazing. They sound just as good as the best. It's actually electromechanical piano. It's not nothing digital. It's the real thing. Like just made today. It doesn't weigh nearly as much. I think it was like 30 kilos. I don't know how it is in pounds, but yeah.
Heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy.
Yeah, 30 kilos it's heavy, but it's less than half of the one I had, which was 80. 80 is probably kind of south of 200 pounds.
Okay.
It's just the weight of grown adult, healthy adult male,
Yeah.
for sure. And that's like I was doing gigs with this thing, like loading it in the car, and yeah, if I can have one that's half the weight,
That'd be nice.
I'll pay twice the price. I'm 42. I don't have a bad back yet, but I don't want to take too much chances. But yeah, like it is important, I think, as a musician to maybe get used to learning an instrument. I think that's in favor of owning an actual instrument. Like it can be a piano, it can be a guitar, it can be a synth, whatever. But there is some value, for personal development to, because now people, like, and I'm guilty of this at times. You just get some new gear and you come across some money and you buy a new synth, you buy a new drum machine, and then you don't make music anymore because you're constantly a beginner at your new instrument. And I feel a lot of people get lost into that, and that's why I think like it can happen in software also, but I don't know. It's become much easier to make music and to record music now. So, and I feel also like the quality of the music, like it's incredible right now.
Yeah.
Like when I listen to like some of your beats and then other people and like your label, if you make this label with these people and this music 20 years ago, you're just like king of the world.
Yeah.
But right now, like I was really thinking, and I would like to know, like how do you sort? Like there's so many amazing musicians out there, and especially like when I look into lo-fi, how do you know who to listen to?
Like me personally for the label, or just in general, like
both, like for the label and in general.
So for the label, I just try to find like very what I would think like genuine. If it just sounds genuine to me, and they have obviously I'm like looking at their social medias and just kind of seeing if they're just a genuine person, and then just spark a conversation with them, and if they seem interested, I'll pop them the question and just be like, or just well, if you're ever interested in releasing some music, I'm always here to listen to
something.
The
question, man.
Yeah, pop them the question.
Something the question. It's funny you use that phrasing though. Right?
Yeah, because it's a big ordeal for people. You have a lot of people that are against labels and or they're iffy because I've had a couple of people be kind of really into like detailed numbers. What's it in for me? And they want this whole thing right off the bat, and I can respect that.
Yeah, but it's not 1995 anymore. Anymore.
Right? Yeah, it's it's like, first of all, it's like an independent label, a new label, like I can only give you my plan and what I hope for in the future and what I'm trying to build towards. And it's like I can't give you, I can't sit here and be like, yeah, you're gonna make X amount of money in your first year, and then it's like you can't really offer that kind of thing, especially like nowadays,
Yeah.
especially as an independent label. You know, so I can generally tell like those people might drop a track, might not. But I know like pretty much not to really hold on to them or bug them too much or whatever to try to get them on there, because it's going to be, they're going to want more than.
I don't understand because basically what you reaching out to people and you're offering them, like I can understand where they're coming from, but basically you don't have to do anything for them. You're offering them a platform,
Yeah.
you work, um, being part of something greater than them just themselves. That
Yeah.
something that's exciting and like I can understand, but at the same time, like even like if you're just uh, looking for your own interest, there's no way. Like it's like when sometimes you talk to people and they're telling you, "Oh, I'm working on this album for the last 2 years, and I have this whole plan," and it never happens like that. Like
Yeah.
you have to be at work. You have to be out there. Like nowadays, I don't know exactly because obviously, I don't know exactly how it works. I've seen a few people that I know more or less who actually got some, significant success doing that. But there are very few, and one common trait among all of them is they're hustlers. They're working hard. That's all that they don't play video games. They don't they don't watch all the new TV shows. They just hustle. They release music. They like before the pandemic they were playing gigs and just doing the work and eventually things happen for them through that. They made things happen because right now there are a lot of people out there and I'm thinking about is like the average music track, like especially like take lo-fi hip hop, just to narrow it down. I believe the average lo-fi hip hop track today is objectively like better than most music that was released in hip hop music in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, I could.
Even some classics. Like I'm not saying there are not immense classics, but how do you pronounce that guy? Davenk, da,
Oh, Davnik.
Davnik. All right, old
Yeah.
school romance.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is as good as anything out there.
Yeah.
And too few. Like I'm on the YouTube. There's 61 views. Come
Right.
on.
Yeah.
Like this is this is as good a hip hop track. Well, hip hop, it's
Yeah.
to me it's hip hop.
Yeah.
Some people may disagree. It's and it was funny when I found because I didn't know the original sample and I stumbled upon it on YouTube. YouTube algorithm, by the way, is amazing when it comes to music. and like you always end up in these Japanese albums, you know what I mean? Like 70s, 80s Japanese jazz fusion
Yeah.
kind of and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, but so where I was going with that is how do you like the level has become so high nowadays. And what do you think makes a difference between, people who make it and people who don't.
See that, like, there's like a lot of debate on that in general as well. Where there's always people like, you have the people that, oh, it's who you know. And then you have people that are like, well, you have to make like good music. But like good music is somewhat subjective, but it's also objective as well.
I can name one person today who is known and popular and very successful through the sheer quality of their music alone. And there's probably more, but the one I have in mind is Jacob Collier.
I don't think I know who that is per se.
All right, I'm going to send you some link. He's a kid from the UK. It's just mind blowing. Yeah, you're gonna love it. it's just, I'm not gonna tell. Like, and he won. Like, you don't know about him, but he won like a few Grammys and stuff when he was like 22 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like kind of buddies with Herbie Hancock, you know.
Okay, maybe I've heard it and just like not noticed it, but it's generally like I listen to like so much music and look up so much stuff.
It's just easy to miss.
The names.
Yeah.
Gone. But like, if I heard it, I would probably be like, okay, I know that song.
But you can spend the whole day on Facebook listening to nothing but, purely bedroom amateur music and have your mind blown several times in that one day.
Yeah.
So, even extremely good music and extremely like known and popular, it can be missed,
Yeah.
And that's not a problem. But my point is like, what is the recipe today? And is it still a recipe? Like, are there many, like in lo-fi hip hop, how many artists, that everyone who makes lo-fi hip hop can name?
Like mostly people can just name like the super popular ones or like people that they personally know. Other than that,
I don't know any popular one, to be honest. And maybe it's my lack of culture. Interest. I am interested, but I never really found out like, that's the Dr. Dre of lo-fi, for example.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like there's always going to be like an argument between who is the best, but there really isn't, in my opinion, there really isn't one.
Yeah, I totally agree. But even if there's
like, and I don't know the recipe because like if you were to copy, let's say like we're looking at numbers.
There cannot be a recipe actually. I don't think there can be. But
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. It's a very interesting question. I haven't really thought about it too much. Like, but like I've thought about like
because it used to be simple.
Yeah, but now it's like really complicated to like what's a good lo-fi song? Like I really can't answer that question because it's kind of like there's songs that are like a more complex lo-fi song, and then there's ones that are more simple that I like, and I like them. Yeah, and like I don't think there's like a singular recipe, and even if you like took, like let's say you were looking at like numbers, okay, and like there was one artist that had the most plays or whatever views out of anyone else, and like you took that song and you basically like replicated everything as much as possible without actually like copying the song, like it could be the worst song ever.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the best parts about lo-fi is it's like it's a mystery. Like the whole thing is just this weird mystery. And again, it full circles back into nature and just like the whole, like how something so simple can be so great, and something so simple can be, not so great to people, like thunderstorms. People love thunderstorms. They fall asleep.
Fucking love thunderstorms.
Yeah, it's like people fall asleep
Yeah.
to big bangs and crashes, and other people are terrified of it, and it's just like this. It's something so simple as just like a crack and a boom that puts people in a meditative state. And I mean, it's the same like with lo-fi. It's just kind of that like it's a chaotic, just hit or miss.
It's very like when as you talk about nature, I'm thinking just like nature, like it's there. You can really get into deep meditative philosophical state when you take it in. But even if you don't, and if it's just there, like it has an impact on your life, significant impact. And I feel lo-fi, like, because I play mostly lo-fi music at our shop, and sometimes there's you get into the music, and sometimes you dance a little bit, and other times it's just something that's beautiful and always there. But even if you don't really pay attention, it's there, and it enlightens your day. It brings some beautiful harmonies, and I don't know how it came about. It's weird.
Yeah, that's like one thing that like really drew me in about it. And then when you have things like like pop songs or like like just pop songs, like pop songs, whether like rap or whatever. It's like there's always like a certain thing that people remember. Whether it's a quote or like a lyric quote in the song or whatever, or something about that's always kind of there's like a point that's like remembered, and it's a very pinpoint thing with like more like pop music nowadays. And like I don't really know anyone that's just kind of like listens to pop music and they're like, yeah, this like takes my anxiety right away, like
maybe something with the lyrics.
Maybe, yeah.
Because at the same time, like music, like good lo-fi hip hop. What you and I would probably, I don't know if that's the case, like good, because it can be good in many ways, but the deeper, like you also have to be familiarized with that kind of state of mind to be able to really get into it. I'm not sure it's that easy. Like you have to know a little bit about just letting go and embracing the sound, and but at the same time, it's maybe lo-fi is one of the easiest pathways to that kind of mindset, because it's music you're familiar with, harmonically, rhythmically. It's something that you can be comfortable, and it puts you at ease, and then you can once you're at ease, you can let go, and it's interesting to kind of figure out what exactly is lo-fi music. Why does it exist at all? It doesn't make sense. It shouldn't. Logically, like why? Like there's amazing music everywhere. Like why do people record on cassette again?
Yeah.
And I was at first I was like, what the fuck? Like I know cassette, they suck. I used cassette as a kid, but then when it's a choice. When it becomes a choice, it becomes a toy. It becomes something you can play with. When it's not a choice, when that's all you have, you just press play and listen to music and rewind, and that's it. But when it's a choice, I can do this. I can do tape loops. I can do, I can experiment, and it's new again. It's fun again. So I don't know. It's an interesting topic for sure, and I'll definitely think of it. So I want to say it's been a little bit over an hour, I think.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably written somewhere. but I can't. All right, so let's call this an episode, and I would love to do it again, actually,
Yeah, absolutely.
because yeah, I'd like to listen to some music with you also. Maybe there's something you wanted to share.
Um, no.
Sorry, I put you on the spot. I'm not even sure. Yeah, I should be able to. I should allow you to. I think I can allow one participant. All right. So you can. Who can share? All participants. All right. So you can share the audio if you want to share some music.
Oh, share some music.
Well, maybe something.
I don't know. I don't really have anything right now.
All
It's
right.
kind of
So
like
I have a suggestion though.
yeah.
We can get back into old school romance.
Okay.
I think it's a great song. And then, yeah, after that, I'm gonna stop recording. So before we get into that song, if you enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe, well, the usual stuff. Leave a comment. It makes a difference. And thank you for listening. Thank you, Rich, for being a part of this. And I really
Thank you.
hope, thank you for all the, mind-blowing moments, because I wasn't expecting that. And usually, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed by what you're
Thank
doing
you.
and the way you go about it and your philosophy. I was we chat a little bit on social media, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting someone really competent and good at what they do and passionate, but I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting you to be as intelligent and as great ideas and great perspective. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you pronounce
Davnik.
Davnik? All right, because
Yeah.
I used to say Davink because that's
Yeah.
Davnik.
Yeah.
All right. Old school romance. I am not sharing. Hang on, I will share musical computer sound only. Share. Let's go. Let's get into that. Can you hear it?
Yep.
All right.
such a vibe.
Man, we were just talking about, getting into the flow and meditative states. So yeah, this is Davnik, Old School Romance, Third Stones, Sounds. I put the link in the description of the video. Check them out; it's amazing. All right, so I'm just gonna stop the recording and bye everyone.